Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, here to preview some reels that recently came into my shop and talk a little bit about the ones that we'll hope to make some projects on here, show some videos about, and see how and where that takes us in the coming days. Well, if you like the art of fishing reel repair, if you like to see how reels are made, if you like to learn a little bit about the industry, the manufacturers, where reels were made, the purposes of those reels, and so on, well, that's what my channel is about. The idea behind the channel is to give the reels a second chance, and more importantly, to teach you how to do it yourself, so that if you have a reel that needs to be serviced and it's sitting on the sidelines, well, you can jump right in there and get it done. I try to do step-by-step instruction on how to service the reels so that you can follow along and do it yourself. So let's take a look at some of the reels that have recently come in. Most of them have been drop-offs. In this case, Thomas dropped these off for me. These have been on the boat. They've been used, and he's got his boat out of the water. He's starting to paint the bottom of it and make it ready for the spring season, and he asked me to do the same with the reels. So that's what we're going to do. These have been heavily fished reels, and you're going to see by the examples of them, yeah, it's time. Here's a Penn Jigmaster. This is the 500. I get questions all the time about the various Penn Jigmasters. They're a go-to reel for inshore ocean fishing up on the mid-Atlantic seaboard. And this one here was made in the U.S. They stopped making the Jigmaster in the U.S. somewhere around 2005, and the reels since then have been made in China. It's the same design, but if you're interested in the differences, I have a video out there on it, but a lot of the parts have kind of been skinnied down on the springs, different metals on the bridges and the gears, and well, they're just not holding up as well. So this is a Jigmaster 500. They make a narrow version of this one. It's the, I think it's the 501, I'm not quite sure. They make a double ball bearing sided reel, that's the 505 or 506. They make various iterations of it. They have one that comes off on this side plate here. That's the 500S. Has a little bit of a different frame. But overall, this reel is working, but it's probably been sitting in a rod holder, and that rod holder has probably taken the spray from the ocean, and well, I'm sure that the reel wasn't rinsed off after each trip. The salt eventually eats into it, and that's why you get the greening and the corrosion. So we'll do our best to clean it up, and we're going to tune that up. If you're actually interested in how do you repair a Penn Jigmaster, I have quite a few videos out there on them, and I would suggest that you look in my library for them. Well, there's two of them, so they probably sat side by side. Again, the reel itself, you can kind of hear it hasn't been serviced. The knob kind of busy, all the greening that's going on there. But both of these can be restored. We'll do our best to clean those up and get those going. Well, he also has some big, old Penn spin fishers. And these, again, just like the other counterparts, you can see there's a lot of evidence. You can just pick it up and feel the grit on it. This one happens to be the 750 SS. So these are the big reels. They're probably the alternative to using the Jigmaster in terms of the fishing. I don't know if we're going to be able to wind this. We got a lot of broken line here that's just going to start wrapping around. But this is a nice version of the reel. They're highly sought after here. They've still maintained their value. You have two overrides on this system. One of these will override the click, and this one looks like it's frozen, so I'm not going to fool around with that right now. I'll try to free it up later. That one overrides the click on the anti-reverse dog. This overrides the anti-reverse itself. So we'll see what we can do to free that up. And then I think we even have the bigger one here. Trying to read the model number. Yeah, this is the 9500 SS. So this was one series. This is the series that I believe is the fourth series. It's the 750. And then this would be the fourth series. The SS is the next one, and that's the largest in that series. Very big trolling reel. the setup essentially inside is about the same, but this one obviously has a lot more capacity. And you can handle a nice sized tuna or a shark or some other big fish with that reel. Well, we've got a standard here. This is an Ambassador. This is 7000 C3. The C3s, I believe, were made in Sweden. Again, with the Ambassadors, if you don't see made in Sweden on the reel, it was not made in Sweden. It's the same thing with the Jigmaster. If you do not see made in the USA, it wasn't made in the USA. Well, this one's kind of snarled up with a lot of line. And one of the problems, and it was probably boat vibration, but we're missing the cap that is the spool adjuster cap. So this reel is not going to run well without that cap, because you're going to have a lot of side-to-side play in that spool. In this case, it's not running well, probably because it doesn't have that on there, as well as just kind of being sitting in the rack for quite some time. So we'll do our best to get this one tuned up for Thomas and make sure that he gets that back out there fishing. Well, he also has one of these, which is kind of a pride of everybody's collection. You would hope to get it cleaned up a little bit, but this is a Newell reel. This is a Newell 229 3.6 graphite, nice low version of the reel. Seems to be working. He tells me the handle is stuck, and that may be an issue. We're going to have to see what we can do. Sometimes you can get this pin out, sometimes you can't. My guess with this one is that it's probably been seized from the salt. One of the tricks to try if you have this is kind of flood it with the penetrating oil. We'll try and do that. We'll try and work on taking that screw out with the risk of it possibly breaking off. But another one is to use a hair dryer. A hair dryer will loosen this up at a high speed. Be careful, you don't want to melt the plastic. But if there's dried greases in that's holding the knob as the cause for the tightness, a hair dryer generally will make that work better. All right, we have two big Shimanos here, the TLD20s, the Triton liver drags. They're in for a tune-up, like most of this. It seems like we've got an awful lot of corrosion and wear and tear on these reels, but hopefully we will make those right. This is not a level wind reel, and we can see that the line's gathered to one side. You need to be careful with that because there's a post here. I can see it. You can see how the line is gathered, and that footing goes right to here. So if you get too much line to one side, it's going to start to drag just because it starts to bump up against the side posts and that. Very careful about aligning the reels. You should, and this one's probably suffering the same thing. It's probably in the heat of battle, you're not paying attention to lining the reel back and forth. You're paying attention to getting the fish in. And this is the same, the TLD20. We'll see if we can do a video on that one as well. And then we got a wider cousin of it. This is the TLD25. And he just said that these need the normal service. Well, they need the normal service and a lot of cleanup. One of the questions I get all the time is, what about sun damage? What about UV fade? Can I restore it? The answer is you can temporarily restore it by using an automotive product for all that matters. Rod and reel cleaner, automotive product that's designed to restore UV damage, but over time it will come back. And then the last one is probably one of my favorite reels for the big time trolling. This is the Daiwa. This is the 600H, and then the other one would be the 900. And this is a 6.0 size reel. It would compete with the Penn Senator 6.0. And these are workhorses. These are hard to beat. They have a solid aluminum frame, aluminum spool, so you don't see as much corrosion on these as you do on, say, that Penn Jigmaster. And we'll do the same thing here. We'll make sure that that one gets ready to go fishing again. And maybe we'll try to do a video on this one. So if you've seen any videos on these reels that you're interested in having me do, if it's not in my library, then I would be happy to try to do those for you. Well, a lot of reels have come in. We're going to do this in two parts. We're going to do a second one that features some of the other ones that came in, but I don't like to run these previews more than about 10 minutes. and your time is valuable. So we'll come back with a part 2 and show you the other ones that came in at a future date. So to all of our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do to keep us safe. Truly do appreciate your efforts. To everyone, get these reels out of your shelves, out of your garage, out of your sheds. Find my video on how to service them and get them ready for the spring season, which is coming up shortly. I wish you the best in terms of your repairs. If you have questions, please leave them in the comment section. And I wish you good luck fishing. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.